This is the solution to the exercise on page 4 of the handouts of session 1. It asks you whether x is negative, that is, it asks you whether x is smaller than 0. And the first piece of information you're being given is that x squared is greater than x. The second piece of information you're given is that x to the power 3 is smaller than 0. Now, if we consider the first piece of information, that is, if we consider that x squared is greater than x, we first note that x can be greater than 1. Because if x is, for example, 2, then 2 to the power 2 becomes 4, and 4 is obviously greater than 2. Secondly, we note that x cannot be between 0 and 1. Because if x is, for example, a half, then a half to the power 2 becomes 1/4, which is actually smaller than a half. That's because fractions to the power 2 become smaller. However, x could also be smaller than 0, because then x is a negative number, for example -2, and negative numbers squared become positive, which is greater than the negative number. So this first piece of information basically tells you that x is either greater than 1 or it's smaller than 0. So you don't have enough information to answer this question. Therefore, not sufficient. The second piece of information tells you that x to the power 3 is smaller than 0. So from that, you basically know that x must be smaller than 0, because only a negative number to the power 3 gives you a negative number. For example, -2 to the power 3, that is -2 times -2 times -2, which is -8, because 2 minuses cancel out and 1 is left over. So the second piece of information gives you enough info to answer this question with yes, x is indeed smaller than 0. Therefore, your final answer is B. Only the second piece of information is sufficient to answer your question.